Guess it's gonna read RWBY fanfiction. This guy. Hey, what's up, guys? Mike's here. I'm supposed to turn on now. And guess what? We have another fanfiction to read, and this time it's RWBY. I've watched RWBY, just the volume 4, guys. I'm sorry I missed the first 3 volumes. I just don't know what RWBY is. But now I realize what that show is about, and typically enough, I know what it is. So, I don't know what RWBY is back then, but my friend introduced that show to me and know what it is about. And now that I know what it is, now I can read a fanfiction about that. I watch a lot RWBY. It's only on Rooster Teeth, so it's me. But it's gonna be on updated for Rooster Teeth, or do whatever you want. Just yeah. And yeah, I have a amazing fanfiction I'm gonna have to read. It's by on a Tumblr named spyder-m. That's what's his name. And shout out to spyder-m. I think this one is on fanfiction, and on Tumblr I will have to tag him. So props to you for that one. So I really love this one, but I wish I could read this one, but I'm very nervous on what you have wrote. So yeah, okay guys, I'm gonna start reading what it says, because I just very nervous on what it is. Okay, this one here, this RWBY fanfic will be titled Incognito. It is a RWBY fanfiction made by spyder-m, so props to you. I'm gonna read the description of what this story is about. Right, so this story is about Juan was stuck in a rut working a dead-end job and still trying to figure out what he wanted to do in life. So Pyrrha was moving temporarily to Vale and to do some promotional work for the Disney company, but also to escape the celebrity status she had attained in Minstrel. And the two of them have been friends for years, but are only now meeting in person for the first time. It's the Arcos ship. It's the shipping of Pyrrha and Juan. So you know that already. You can see that one on volume 3. So you can check it out. Check it out on Tumblr and find a tag that says Arcos on it. Do so. And yeah. Oh, that was so crazy. It's very weird. Okay, guys, we're gonna start reading the chapter 1 of this. So may I present to you Incognito by spyder-m. Great word, Miss Nikos. Now hold that pose. I'm just gonna get a few more shots. Pyrrha smiled politely for the photographer, remaining uncomposed underneath the blinding heat of camera flashes and city lights. A gesture she had long ago perfected. It was nothing new to her. As an accomplished athlete and record 4-time winner for the regional tournament in Minstrel, Pyrrha was used to being the focal point of attention. It was hard to see her face plastered on billboards throughout the city, or gracing the labels of different products. Yet, even with the years she had to adjust, the constant attention made her feel uncomfortable. While Pyrrha was talented, she didn't think of herself or her accomplishments as particularly important. She was proud of them, certainly, but she couldn't understand why she, of all people, had been raised up on the pedestal when there were people doing much more worthwhile things. Pyrrha wasn't a hero. She wasn't changing the world or saving anyone's life. She was just a regular teenage girl, or at least she had been. As well, the lights died down slowly after a moment, Pyrrha looked up at the photographer as they lowered their camera, who offered her a smile. Well done, Miss Nikos. You can take 5 for now. Pyrrha released a low sigh of relief before stepping out of in front of the backdrop, moving around the various tripods and lights that had surrounded her. She walked slowly out of the studio and pulled out her scroll. grateful from the momentary lapse in her fast-paced life. While Pyrrha appreciated the admiration she received for her best years of training and hard work, at the same time, she couldn't help but feel her celebrity status was a burden as much it was a blessing. As a teenager, growing through such a pivotal stage of her life, constantly in the public eye had been difficult. Pyrrha found herself constantly surrounded by people of all ages admiring her. Yet, in spite of this, she had grown up feeling lonely and isolated from her peers. She couldn't remember the last time she had truly bonded with another person. People were intimidated by her and her status, tending to keep their distance, only daring to get so close to her. If she tried to strike up a conversation, they seemed nervous in her presence, stumbling over their words or avoiding eye contact entirely. Pierre tried to remain cheerful for her fans, yet it was becoming harder to suppress the deep frustration and sadness building inside of her. For the longest time, she had wanted to escape, a chance to start over fresh. Overcome by the desire to escape the loneliness her fame brought her, Pierre had ventured online into a virtual realm. There, she could speak with other people as an equal, anonymous without any accolades, preconceived notions, or expectations attached to her name. She could be herself, stripped away from the fame and success. She had at first joined a fan forum for X-Ray and Vab, a comic book series she had stumbled upon recently, which is the series for Gamfrey and Ray Navarez Jr. So those are the characters, and put on the same production, Rooster Teeth. In her day-to-day life, Pyrrha spent a lot of time on sets and in studios doing promotional work for sponsors or projects that involve periods of inactivity. As a fairly active person, Pyrrha found herself growing restless lately, wanting to spend the time doing something, anything remotely productive. She had wanted to find something to keep herself occupied, so that she wasn't just sitting around. One on such occasion, she had found an issue of X-Ray and Bab that had been left in the studio, possibly another talent or crew member. Though not familiar with the series at the time, Pyrrha saw it was a reprieve from her boredom, and was willing to engage in any activity that could pass the time. As she read, she was pleasantly surprised, finding that there was nothing about the bright panels and quirky characters of the series that captivated her attention. She quickly became a fan, looking online and for another issues and reading them, enraptured. She would follow the series over the coming days and weeks, eventually catching up to the latest arc. It was on that forum that she met John, I said Juan the whole time. I said John. Her first and closest online friend. He was the first person she communicated with, the first one to welcome her when she made the post in the introduction section, someone she saw posting routinely on the boards. The mirror side of his avatar and usually eliciting a bright smile from her. She enjoyed his carefree attitude, and light-hearted humor. Their conversations were relaxed and easy, something she missed and couldn't remember having had in a number of years. I said Juan again. Damn it. John treated her like a regular girl because that was the only way he'd ever known her. As they grew closer, learning each other's names and identities, speaking with each other over video calls, it became apparent that Pyrrha's fame did not stretch quite as far as the neighboring kingdoms, for John did not recognize her. He knew nothing of Pyrrha Nikos, the world-class athlete, or even the minstrel regional tournament for that matter. He only knew Pyrrha, a regular teenage girl, so she had played along more than had to accept the role. While the online platform was able to provide Pyrrha and semblance of escape, it was only temporary. She could only break away from the reputation she gained in the real world for so long. Every day she would have to step back to her celebrity role and return to masking her loneliness and unhappiness. This brief exposure to a simpler only made Pyrrha crave it more. She wanted to travel somewhere to where her name and face were indistinguishable amongst a crowd, even if just for a short time. Scanning through her email on her scroll, Pyrrha's eyes were caught upon the message flagged and pinned at the top of the page. The escape she had always sought. Her electronic boarding pass for an airship to Vale. She had been offered some work there on a major advertising project with the SNE company, which would require her to move away from Minstrel on a temporary basis. The idea had been tempting to Pyrrha. She had worked with the SNE company before and even had a good relationship with the company's Harris, Weiss, a girl who was around her age. She was probably the closest thing to real-life friend Pyrrha had. It wasn't her past relationship with the company that convinced Pyrrha, though, nor was it the opportunity to travel to a different region, somewhere where she wasn't as well known. Although the prospect certainly excited her, the main reason motivating her decision was different. Pyrrha opened the message client on her scroll and began typing out a new draft. I still can't believe I'm leaving for Vale in 3 days. Pyrrha tapped down on the device, her stomach fluttering with happiness and excitement. It won't be long until we finally get to see each other. It's because Vale was John's home. It was stuffy in the storeroom from dusk till dawn, the lack of windows limiting the room's fresh air and natural light. Still, John didn't mind working there. He enjoyed the solitude, hidden away from his supervisor and the customers, being able to work at his own place. He could stop between unpacking boxes and check his scroll unnoticed, opening the device as it vibrated softly in his pocket. John couldn't help but smile reading Pyrrha's message. The excitement she had felt when typing it out was clear and infectious. It was finally dawning on him. In just 3 days, Pyrrha would be here, in Vale. For a while, it had seemed like this day could never possibly come. After years of speaking to her over forums and through Skype calls, they've always talked about one day meeting up, but the distance and their real-life responsibilities always made their plans difficult to act. Also wasn't entirely sure his summer would last an entire trip to Minstrel. He grew queasy just thinking about it. It was lucky for him that Pyrrha had been offered a job in Vale and would be moving over soon. I know, John typed out in reply. I can't wait to see you. I'll make sure to give the grand tour of Vale. He set the scroll down on the shelf beside him, knowing Pyrrha would be quick to message him back. She usually didn't initiate a conversation unless she was on the break from work and had time to kill. Sure enough, shortly after she placed down to the device, it vibrated slowly again, alerting John of her response. I look forward to it. How's work? Work is work. Better know that I'm talking to you, though. Hey, John, Ruby called, making him look up from his scroll. She gestured to some boxes stacked neatly onto a flatbed trolley. Mind giving me a hand unpacking this new stock? If you're not too busy right now, that is, she joked. Sure, John answered his co-right worker with a grin, tucking his scroll away to his pocket. Ruby had started working from dusk till dawn earlier that year, noticing that she seemed to be having trouble fitting in. Much like he had when he first arrived, John befriended her, offering her the help he wished he always received. Though a little socially awkward at first, she came out of her shell more as they became closer, and he learned that she was actually quite excitable and imaginative. It reminded him a lot of his younger sister back home. Helping Ruby wheel the loaded trolley out of the store room and into the shop, the two began to unpack its contents onto an empty shelf. So, you don't leave to start training the signal next month, right? Ruby asked as they worked. Let me think. John deadpanned, stopping to stroke his chin as if deep in thought. Yes, I do remember the 3 other times you told me this week. Hey, I'm just saying, they're going to notice a massive drop in productivity if you stay glued to your scroll all day, Ruby teased. Very funny, John said, sticking his tongue out. You and your wit will be sorely missed around here. It was hard to believe that she would be leaving soon. It felt like only yesterday Ruby had mentioned she was applying. That time sure passed quickly. Signal was the recruitment academy for Vale's police force. Ever since she had been a little girl, Ruby had wanted to be a police officer, just like her mom, Summer, before her. While her mom's work had meant there were many times in her life where Ruby didn't get to see her, or was worried about her well-being, she still had great admiration for her and wanted to follow in her footsteps. Still young and somewhat naive, Ruby had an incredibly romanticized view of working in law enforcement. She imagined herself being hero to the city and helping those in need, something that, fortunately, wasn't always the case. Still, she had a dream she was pursuing, a clear sense of direction in her life. He wished he could be so lucky. Ruby grinned toothfully as John placed his hand on her head, ruffling her hair warmly. He was happy for her, but part of him wished, selfishly, that she didn't have to leave. He was going to miss having her around. Don't waste your time worrying about me, though. Go out and achieve your dream. Become the hero that Vale's always needed. Ruby watched her friend, her smile fading to a puzzled expression. She knew that John was proud of her, and at heart, his words were genuine, though she couldn't help but notice that odd tone that tinted them. He must have been feeling insecure about himself, Ruby supposed, even in the short time she'd known him. They'd grown close and John had confided in her. He expressed worry that he was a failure and didn't know what he was going to do with his life. All he wanted to do was make his family proud. Perhaps seeing one of his friends moving ahead of him, as he remained rooted and unmoving, was hard for him to swallow. "Hey," she said, tapping him lightly across the arm, hoping to take his mind of those negative thoughts. "There's no need to bring the mood down. It's not like I'm leaving the kingdom or anything. We'll still see each other all the time." "You're right. I'm sorry, Rubes. I didn't mean to rain your parade. You're right. I'm sorry, Rubes. I didn't mean to rain on your parade. You should be proud." It was true after all. His friend was following her dream. He shouldn't be moping. "Hey, I know," John exclaimed suddenly. We should have everyone get together and celebrate you starting at Signal." "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea," Ruby exclaimed. A bright smile returned to her face. "It's been fun to hang out with everyone again." "Cool. I'll let Ren and Nora know when I get home tonight. Maybe we can organize something for the weekend?" "Yeah, that works," Ruby said. "Now let's get back to work. Yang's picking me up today, and I have to work over and keep her waiting. So no more slacking off. Got it, Art?" Alright, fine," John answered with a grin. "Reminded me again why you thought it was a good idea to get a sectional." Neptune grunted, trying to maneuver the awkwardly shaped section of couch upstairs. "It was at the garage sale. I got it for like practically nothing," Son answered from the night. "Beggars can't be choosers, man." "Huh. So what do you save when the upholstery goes towards covering medical bills? I guess that's how they get you." "Shut up, you..." Son readjusted his grip. "You asked me to get a couch. I got us a couch." "No, you got us 3 parts of couch." "How was I supposed to know this place didn't have an elevator?" How about that time we check it out before we move here?" "I told you I had to work." "Warn me before you lower your side like that." "Just keeping you on your toes," Neptune laughed, setting the couch down. Son arched a brow in confusion, but followed suit, lowering his end also. Neptune gestured wordlessly to bend in the stairwell, a sharp corner which the couch appeared too bulky to maneuver around. "This is not going to work, isn't it?" "Of course it will. We just got to angle your side through first. Come on, Neptune. Pivot. "I'm not going through with this with you again." "So, why didn't John want to come with us?" Yang asked as she parked her motorcycle. Bumblebee, pulling her helmet off, Ruby stopped up after her. "John tends to get motion sickness," Ruby answered carefully. It was a sensitive topic for him. "I don't know that he'd be able to handle your bike." "Oh, right." Yang rolled her eyes. "I guess I forgot who we're talking." Oh, right. Yang rolled her eyes. I guess I forgot who we're talking about. She finished her keys out of her pocket as they made their way to the lobby of their apartment building, carrying on with the conversation. Still, you and Vomit Boy sure make a good team. You seem pretty close, Yang said, teasingly. Have you ever thought of, you know, what? Ruby asked, not following what Yang was insinuating. Yang rolled her eyes, asking him out. Ew, no thanks, Ruby gagged. I mean, I love John, but not like that. He's my friend. He also told me once that I reminded him of this little sister a lot, so I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. Besides, she continued, pressing the call button for the elevator, even if I was interested in him, which I'm not, I'm pretty sure he has a girlfriend already anyway. Really? Yang asked skeptically, leaning her arm against the wall as they waited. That scrawny goofball? I find that hard to believe. Why? He's been really nice to me, and once you get to know him, he can be pretty funny and smart. I mean, he's kind of dense sometimes, but he's really good with, Ruby. Yang cut off her sis chatting. That's so sweet. Are you sure you don't like him? Yang, Ruby whined, slapping her across the arm. Okay, I'll stop. But seriously, what makes you think that? Ruby shrugged as lift doors opened the door and stepped inside. He's always on his phone texting someone. It always seems to do his break. And during work when he thinks no one's looking, he can become grumpy one morning. But if he gets a text, he's smiling, spacing out for the rest of the day. It doesn't seem like he's just talking with family and friends. Huh, Yang said, intrigued, as they stepped into the elevator. So how come you never ask? Not everyone is as open as you with talking about those kind of things, sis. Hey, Yang protested, holding her hand over her chest in mock indignation. I resent that. Sorry, Ruby flinched. I didn't mean it like that. It's just, you're more sure yourself, I guess. I wouldn't even know how to ask him something like that. Besides, it would be awkward to just straight out ask him if he has a girlfriend. I might give him the wrong idea. I guess you're right. You need to find out some other way, Yang said, before clenching her fist in a determined pose. I'll just have to ask him myself. What? Ruby cried. No, Yang, that's not what I meant at all. Too late, Ruby. You got me interested. Besides, I want to see what kind of girl Vomit Boy is pulling. Ruby huffed, folding her arms with a childish pout. She could tell there was no fighting this. Yang was stubborn. Once she made her mind about something, it was difficult to change it. They stepped out of the elevator once they stopped at their floor, walking down the hall to their apartment. Yang unlocked the door, finding the lights out and the apartment empty, just as they had left it in the morning. With a frown, Yang reached over to a light switch, illuminating the apartment. Isn't Blake back yet? Ruby asked, moving into the apartment and looking around for a roommate. I guess not, Yang answered, turning to close the door behind her. She finished work early though, so she could be here any minute though. I think we're finally done. Nathan breathed a sigh of relief, wiping his sweating forehead with the back of his hand. Thank God for that. Sun leaned back against the wall, opposite Nathan's side now slowly until he was sitting against the floor, the weight taking off his legs. I don't see why Scarlet and Sage couldn't have helped us out this move. It would have made things a lot easier. I'm sure they could. They just didn't want to make the trip all the way from Minstrel, Nathan said, shrugging. Oh, sure, they say that now, but I'll bet they'll be asking for help when it's their turn. I could use a shower. Then we should check out the neighborhood, Nathan said, walking back to their new apartment. We celebrate our new place. See what the fish are like in this part of the sea. Is that all you think about, dude? Girls? Honestly, your son trailed off, the words dying on his lips as he caught a flash of black from the corner of his eye. Turning, he saw a young woman walking down the hall. Her bright yellow eyes stared downwards, trailing over a page of the book she held loosely in her hands. Oddly, she walked at a brisk pace, without looking up, too engrossed in her look. However, she navigated the hallway flawlessly, her long dark swaying behind her and hips sashaying. It was as if she was relying entirely on muscle memory rather than her senses. "Son?" Neptune called from the doorway, noticing his friend hadn't followed him in. Brought back to reality at the sound of his name, Son looked up. Neptune extended his hand out to Son, who was still sitting, leaning against the wall. "Don't tell after all that work you're just gonna stay out in the hall?" Neptune smirked. It wasn't like his friend to be all spacey. Smirking back, Son clasping Neptune's outstretched hand and moving back to his feet. I have a feeling I'm really going to like this place," Son said, stepping through the door with a grin. Neptune just watched him, his eyebrows furrowing, puzzled. "Hey guys," John called as he kicked the door to his apartment, closed his arms full of grocery bins. "I'm back." "John!" Nora cheered, leaping for her spot on the couch and racing over to him. She pranced onto the tips of her toes, grasping her taller friend's shoulders as words split from her mouth in a flurry. "Did you get it? Did you get it?" "Whoa, easy there, Nora. Hold on," John said, moving quickly to place the bags onto the counter, giving Nora's exuberance and his clumsiness. It was best to set them down before they ended spilling everywhere. Reaching into one of the bags, he produced a tall bottle of syrup. "Yes, you're the best, John!" Nora exclaimed, wrapping her arms around him. "Hey, I do what I can." He trailed up as Nora pulled the top of the syrup and began drinking it from it deeply. "How was work?" Ren asked, moving into the kitchen and doing his best to pry the now half empty bottle from his friend's hands. So, John answered with a shrug, slipping out of his jacket and dropping his keys onto the counter. "Ruby's gonna be leaving in a couple of weeks to starting her training in Signal." "Yeah, you told us that yesterday." "She brings it up a lot. She's pretty excited. I was thinking we should have everyone over in the weekend, to celebrate Ruby starting her training and all." "Like a party?" Nora asked, perking up at the beside her. Ren cringed. John had known it wouldn't be difficult to sell Nora on the idea. Convincing Ren, however, was where the challenge lay. Eventually, it went without saying that he was a particularly introverted guy, and while he enjoyed the company of her friends, he wasn't fond of the effort, noise, and mess that were typical parties. "More of a get-together, really," John answered, choosing his words carefully. "After all, it's just be the six of us. Ruby and Blake aren't exactly part animals. We'll just be hanging out." Ren continued to eye him skeptically. Without a word, John laughed nervously. He could tell Ren wasn't convinced. "I'll clean up," he offered. Ren raised an eyebrow at him, the slightest hint of a smirk pulling at his lips at John's poor attempt to sweeten the deal. "Come on, Ren, we're doing this for our friend Ruby," John said, realizing he was going to need to bring out the big guns. "We're really going to miss her, right, Nora?" John exchanged a knowing look at Nora, who immediately caught with a sly smile. Ren's impassive expression faltered, his eyes widening in worry as he realized where this was going. "Yeah, Ren, can we have a party for Ruby?" Nora said, looking at him with the wide, hopeful eyes. "Please?" John sniggered, watching beads of sweat breaking out Ren's head as he tried to remain resolute. Ultimately, though, John knew it was a hopeless fight. Ren could never refuse his best friend. With a defeated sigh, he finally relented. "Fine." "Oh, right!" John and Nora cheered, pumping their fists in the air. "That settles it then," John said, taking out his scroll and writing a group message. "I'll let everyone know it's official." Don't worry, Ren, it'll be fine. When we have ever led you astray before? Well, actually, you know what? Don't answer that. Alright, it's all taken care of, John said, clicking the send button on scroll. I'll talk with you guys more about this when they get back to us. If you need me, I'm just going to be in my room for a bit. Where are you going? To talk with your girlfriend? Nora asked, drawing out the last word teasingly. John flushed. She's not my... John protested, his voice a much higher octave than normal. Clasping his hand over his mouth, embarrassed, Nora snorted and Ren broke into a grin. You know what? Never mind, John grumbled, walking to his bedroom and closing the door behind him. Oh, come on, John, don't be like that. We were just kidding. Slumping to his desk chair with a sigh, John blissfully stretched out his aching legs and lower back. Glancing up at his monitor, John grabbed his mouse and guided his cursor over the Skype icon on his desktop. With a click, his friend's list was pulled up on screen. His tongue fluttered, a small smile pulling across his lips as he noticed that Pierre was online. John had grown up awkward and unsure of himself, finding it difficult to make friends. He tried to feign confidence, having been told by his father that it was a trait people, particularly girls, admired. Most, however, could read through John's bravado, seeing him for the bumbling, anxious teenager he really was. To this day, he only really had a small group of friends outside of his own family: Ruby, Ren, Nora, Yang, and Blake. He had gravitated to forums most of his life, and as making friends online just came more comfortably to someone like him, who lacked confidence. Unfortunately, there was a stigma that surrounded those relationships forged online. I believe that because two people hadn't ever interacted in person, their friendship couldn't possibly be as real or as strong. It was something that John had always thought it was ridiculous. As close as he was to Ruby, Ren and Nora, Pierre was probably his best friend. No matter how dull his day may have been, no matter how much he may have felt like a loser stuck in a dead-end job, or that his life was going nowhere, speaking with Pierre always made him feel so much happier and comfortable with himself. For John, social media and online communication was a blessing. It had become a gateway enabling him to come close to someone emotionally and mentally, while remaining physically so far apart. Pierre was someone who, at different point in space or time, he may have never even had the opportunity to meet. He could interact with like-minded people from all the kingdoms of Remnant, and forge a relationship he may not be able with those in his immediate surroundings. Hovering over Pierre's icon, he clicked the call button, and an image of her face appeared on the screen as she answered the call. Hey, he said warmly, his face lighting up. Hello again, she answered brightly, waving to the camera. This may be the last time we see each other like this, he said, glancing directly to the camera, catching her eyes. They were a vibrant green, so vital and full of life. Just like her, if they appeared this captivating through this low-quality monitor, he could only imagine what they would look like in the flesh. I can't believe that you're going to be in Vale soon. Me either, she smiled shyly. I'm really looking forward to finally seeing you. I am too. So, how's your day? It was alright, John shrugged. I mean, work kind of sucked, but my friend was there to help out, so it wasn't so bad in the end. I'm glad to hear it. It's nice that you have friends to work with, Pierre nodded, though John couldn't help but feel her voice had been tinged by the slightest hint of sadness. He frowned, wondering if there was something troubling her. What about you? How was your day? Well, Pierre began, looking in her lap. It was fine, I suppose. You suppose? Is there anything you want to talk about? John asked, already having an idea of what her answer would be. Pierre's word was always a subject she tiptoed around when talking with him, answered questions about it carefully, though she'd ever told him was that she worked in media. The details weren't that important to John, but a part of him was concerned that she was hiding something from him. It must have been a sensitive subject, something she wasn't comfortable talking about. John hoped that if there was something troubling her, she'd one day be able to talk with him about it. Maybe meeting in person would change that, allow them to reach a new, intimate stage in her friendship. He only wanted to help her. That's a nice of you, Pierre answered eventually. But it's alright, I would just try and put it behind me. Okay, Pierre, if you say so, John said. There was a part of disappointed that she still didn't trust him quite enough to open up about what was bothering her, but he will respect her wish. Just remember though, if you ever do have something that's bothering you, or you just need to vent, I'm here for you. You helped me through a lot before. It's only fair that I return the favor. Oh, thank you, John, Pierre said with a smile. I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, John said, I was thinking of playing some World of Remnant tonight. You want to get in on that? Why, that sounds grand. Great, John said, picking up the controller into his green box. Just give me a moment to get set up. Wow, that was a very, very long story. That was a long and very massive story. I could talk myself a lot, and that gave me like a full time. It's like 30 minutes. That's a lot. That's ridiculous. 30 minutes, it's too long for me to read. Oh my god. That first chapter is awesome. And that took me like a very long time for me to get this thing done. Holy crap. Okay guys, that's the end of chapter 1 for that. And I'll see you guys next time for another chapter. This is gonna take us a long time here, so why not? Alright guys, bye.